Hey there, sales team. This is Tommy McLaughlin with my instructional demo video for you guys. I thought I would start with my mobile recording rig, which is what I would keep in my backpack if I was going from session to session. And I think this would be a good place to start with the courses even, because this is a really simplistic, kind of just the basic components of any recording setup before you add all the fancy controls and things that can be a little bit overwhelming. So this is just a more digestible version of that. So to get started, we'll take a little bit of a closer look at this interface. This has three main functions. The first thing would be inputs and outputs. So you're going to connect everything, whether that be a microphone, a guitar, any other audio source or anything like that. Those will all get connected into these inputs right here. These can be either 1/4 inch or XLR connector styles. These are combination jack as we call it, and both have the option to have a preamplifier, phantom power in case you need to apply that to a microphone to get it up to line level. This right here would be a monitor, so if you have your outputs on the back routed to some PAs or speakers or something like that, this will control the strength of the signal going to that. And this right here would be your headphone monitor level, which if you want to connect a pair of headphones to that 1/4 inch output right there, you'd be able to control that volume independently from your actual speaker monitors. So those are all the controls on here. And the outputs on here you can see are just those two line level 1/4 inch outputs, and then a USB connection so you can connect that to your computer. And then the connection would just be, in the case of a Mac, you will need to adapt a USB type A connection to type C. So you'll need some kind of USB hub that would look something like this. And that's all it is. And if you have a USB-C audio interface, which are really common nowadays, that'll just be one cable connected right into there. And that is your entire rig. And the way this would work is this is basically doing the job of conversion. So this is an A to D and D to A converter. And A stands for analog, D stands for digital. And that can be thought of, A being analog is transmitted via electricity, an electrical current. And D is transmitted via ones and zeros, binary digital information. So what this is doing is taking your electrical signal, whether it's a guitar or a microphone, that's encoded via an electrical signal that goes through a cable into here. It'll take that and make it understandable for your computer so that you can import that audio data into your DAW, a digital audio workspace, and you'll be able to use that and edit it and then bounce that digital information back to the interface, back to audio, and then back through your monitors. So thus far we've covered the three main functions of an interface, which would be the I/O, the ins and outputs, the conversion, the analog to digital and digital back to analog, and then the third thing would be microphone preamps, which when you get into recording, the way that you actually power the microphone has a lot to do with the sonic characteristics and what we call like the tonal signature of the instrument. So that's something to consider. And as you get into high-end hardware, studio gear, then the quality of the preamp and whether it's clean or colored, adding character or going to stay transparent, those are all considerations to be made by the engineer. So we're going to take a little bit more in-depth of a look at what a DAW would look like. This is what Ableton Live would look like once you get into the DAW. And this is where you would do all your editing. And this is meant to look almost like a hardware mixer. So you can see where you would have your faders. These control the volume of the track that you have in here. This would control the panning, the sends, whether it's to the left or right, and whether any of these effects are applied to it. Don't worry about any of that right now. Just keep in mind that one channel of audio would be here, the next channel would be here, the next would be here, and you can adjust all the gain levels relative to each other and get a good mix by adjusting these faders here. That would be the most basic function you have, and you also have the arranger view that can be accessed. You can toggle back and forth with the tab button. And this is where you would actually be arranging them. As you can see, you're now moving from left to right rather than seeing them in columns. And this would be to arrange the actual composition in time and to be able to make adjustments that you would rather see on an x-axis being time rather than having all the columns of audio organized one by one. So at this point, this is when you would be doing all of your editing, adding effects, taking things out that you don't want to be in the mix, and then adding what you do want to be in the mix. And this is where a lot of the artistic decisions that an engineer would be making would come into play. So once you've handled all the logistics of routing your audio into the DAW where you need it, you'll be able to take that and be able to make any adjustments that you want. So this is kind of where the fun part happens. And then once you get to that, like we mentioned with the signal routing again, that will all be able to be routed back out of here, back into your headphones for a monitor, back out of your speakers for a monitor, and eventually once you have the final project, you'll be able to export that into either a project file to be sent to a mastering engineer, which is often a completely different job than a mix, or you'd be able to just export that to an audio file, MP3, WAV file, FLAC, and just keep any of that for yourself. And depending on what the use case is for the audio, that could be your end product. And that is just about it. Thank you again, Acellus team. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to work with you guys. And if you have any questions or would like to see any more content, I'd be more than happy to add more, send you guys some more stuff. And I did want to touch on the fact that you mentioned you wanted it to be a digital audio course. And throughout this video, I realized that like the analog side of things is really kind of imperative to understanding the counterpart of digital audio. So that'll be something that we can discuss next time we speak. But thank you again. If you need anything from me, feel free to get into contact with me any of the ways that I've given you. And yeah, take care and let me know if you need anything. Bye-bye.